Guys, I gotta be honest. The Tatum 2, yeah, I just don't like it that much. What is going on, y'all? Welcome back to the official WearTesters YouTube channel. My name is Jackson, and today's performance review, as I just mentioned, is on the Jordan Tatum 2. I personally did not play in the Tatum 1, but there is a performance review on our channel if you want to go check that out. But what I do know is that this, kind of aesthetically, but also in terms of just the way that the shoe was built and the tech and everything, this is definitely a departure from the Tatum 1. The biggest similarity really is the fact that both shoes are pretty lightweight, and they've sacrificed things like, you know, a full rubber outsole in order to achieve that lightweight. And yeah, like I said before, I really did not enjoy my time playing in the Tatum 2, but I'm not just gonna sit here and be a hater. Let's go into why. Because there were some good things kind of sprinkled in there, even though the overall package was pretty disappointing. So let's get started with the traction. So what you have here is two pods in the heel and the forefoot that are that translucent rubber. You also have some rubber right here along the toe cap, and then this piece right here, this lime green piece right here, that is solid rubber. And then there's a weird mixture of rubber and foam kind of the rest of the way around. So the first thing that I noticed when I took these on court was that translucent pod in the forefoot was picking up every bit of dust that it could possibly find on the court. But as I kind of trucked through, and I was hoping it would get better, and it did. Do I have an explanation for you? Not really. But after, a couple of days and a handful of hours of playing in the Tatum 2, I noticed that translucent rubber section, right there in the forefoot, wasn't picking up as much dust as it did straight out of the box. Now, still, overall, the traction performance was pretty lackluster. That traction surface is relatively flat. If you're playing on a really nice court, you're gonna be able to get away with having a traction setup like this. Once you take it onto, the types of conditions that I'd say most people play in, the traction, it's not gonna be as good. And outdoors, these aren't gonna be your best option because, that outsole is a mixture of rubber and foam. I just question why Jordan Brand isn't just covering the entire outsole with rubber. I understand that that's the biggest thing that contributes to the weight of a shoe, but with something as important as traction, you need to just focus on getting that right. Now moving on to the cushion. You had Zoom Air on the Tatum 1, and for the Tatum 2, they switched things up. You have full-length cushion, but this time around, it is Air Strobel. Now, overall, while the move from Zoom to Air might seem like a downgrade, it's just kind of different. The biggest positive here is that this cushion setup rides really low to the ground. Tons of court feel here, and the impact protection is still acceptable, solid, decent. But what I don't like about it is part of the broader thing that I don't like about the Tatum 2, which is just that the shoe overall is just too stiff.
That's what she said.
If this shoe felt the same as something like the PG5, which also had full-length Air Strobel, which I loved, it was a very smooth, comfortable shoe, then I'd be happy with this. But because of the way that these are constructed, it's not smooth, it's clunky. I mean, overall the cushion, just if you look at impact protection, it's fine. Court feels really good. Just from that perspective, it's not the worst aspect of the shoe. The insoles that come in these are just terrible. I'd recommend that you switch them out to anything, even if it's like the stock insoles from like a New Balance shoe. It would be a step above what comes in these. Okay, cool. Depending on the colorway that you get, you might get a slightly different material setup. On my pair, it is a canvas-like textile material. It's not the softest. On its own, that material is flexible enough. Now, if they had set up the upper with that being the base material and maybe have a few overlays in some places, like most basketball shoes we see today, it would have worked and it would have been adequate. And frankly, that would have been an upgrade over what we got. This stupid pod right here, along with this stupid pod on the medial side, totally ruins the shoe. They're huge and they're so solid that initially I thought they were solid rubber. Turns out they're foam, but it's just a ridiculously thick and dense piece of foam. And it's in a spot on the shoe where you need flexibility and you're not getting it because of this. I'm trying really hard to bend the shoe right now. So these pods right here and right here are a much more flexible material and, they're fine the way that they are. I'm not complaining too much about them. You also have back here in the heel, this is all Phylon foam that you see down here with a little plastic clip, and it's pretty clunky. I don't like the feel back there either. The tongue is nice and padded, and it has some cutouts in it for some breathability. I got my true size here, and these do run a little bit long, but there is absolutely no way that I would ever go down a half size because they are extremely narrow. And my feet are relatively narrow, and I still did not enjoy the fit on these. Containment in the midfoot and forefoot was, pretty good because of that tight fit and all this foam up here, keeping my foot locked in on the footbed. I did like that. But the fact that the shoe is just so stiff, I could not achieve a good fit in the back half of the shoe at all. And the fact that you have such a stiff midsole, making the shoe a lot less flexible than it should be, makes it so that that fit isn't as adjustable as you would want it to be. Support-wise, I don't have an issue up front necessarily. The fit in the forefoot was fine. Heel instability, not good. You don't want that. You don't have a shank plate here, but due to just how ridiculously stiff the midsole is, you really don't need it. You do have a little bit of an internal heel counter along with this plastic heel clip right here. If the shoe just was a little more flexible, those pieces would be able to work the way that they should. So getting into my overall thoughts here, this right here, this big panel right here is really ruining the shoe. Overall, there's just not enough flexibility here. Jason Tatum is a smooth player, very fluid and agile, and not somebody who should be wearing clunky shoes. Yeah, man, I think you just need to simplify things a little bit. I think Jordan Brand, I understand you're trying to go outside of the box a little bit, but you're making things too difficult. You can make a lightweight shoe that still has a full rubber outsole. It's been done plenty of times in the past. There are other design choices you can make that will reduce the overall weight of the shoe. You don't have to put a ton of rubber on the outsole, just enough to cover the whole thing. That's not too much to ask. Wanting to reduce overall weight while also putting, a massive panel right here, I don't get it. I don't get it. Overall, my biggest gripe with the shoe really is just this area right here, and this area also on the medial side of the shoe. Plain and simple, the shoe is just too stiff. The way that the traction improved a little bit the first couple of days that I was wearing these, I was hoping that the stiffness would also improve, that I could break in those big foam panels in the forefoot area, and it just didn't happen. Maybe if I was a much bigger player and I was putting a lot more force into it, maybe I would have different results. But I'm telling you my experience, and my experience just wasn't overall that good. Honestly, I don't know who I would recommend this to, because the players who would enjoy the court feel and who would enjoy the lightweight will not enjoy the lack of flexibility. But anyways, that about does it for the performance review on the Jordan Tatum 2. If you have played on the Tatum 2, please drop a comment and let me know your experience. Is there anything that I've said that you disagree with? And make sure you do all those other algorithmic things, like the video and subscribe to WearTesters. But yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for all of your support. Thank you for staying this long if you're still watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.